To the Evengaze Crochet YouTube channel. My name's Jodie. I'll be your host for today. You can find me as Evengaze on Ravelry and Instagram. I am from Wolverhampton in the UK, where I live with my fiance and my two beautiful fur babies who may or may not make an appearance on the podcast today. My two boys are asleep behind me, and Bamo is on the windowsill watching the neighbour's cat very intently. She doesn't like the neighbour's cat. So yeah, I'll pop a link to my Ravelry and Instagram down below. We also have a Facebook group and a Ravelry group for this podcast. Both of those links will be in the show notes. If you are a new viewer, I would just like to say welcome. Thank you for kind of watching this podcast. And if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. Thank you for sticking with me. It's been a really busy 2 weeks. I have a couple of works in progress, a couple of finished objects, and some frogged projects to talk about. So yeah, I will start with my first finished object, and that is this cowl. This is a simple stockinette cowl, and it has been crocheted together to join. It is Gamer Crafting yarns. I don't remember the colour, the base. I don't believe she does this base anymore. I'll have to check. And it is the colourway Stardust. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's like this tealy turquoise colour with pink and purple speckles and the odd little bit of white, where I'm assuming, to be honest, the white is where it just hasn't taken the dye. But I absolutely love this. I am really sad that I react badly to the yarn and I can't wear it because it's so lovely, and it actually feels quite nice, but as soon as it touches the skin around my neck, I can't do it. So I'm going to pop that down now. I think I used size 7 or 8 needles. It was really quite big needles. I just knitted until it was slightly too big for me, by which point I was really badly reacting, and that's because I had another cowl made out of this yarn and I was fine. So it's a recent thing that I've started reacting to it, and then I bound off. It sat upstairs for a couple of months before I actually crocheted it together, but it is now finished and done with. So yeah, that's another whip gone. I have another finished object. This one is a crochet one, which makes me so happy, and it is the Bellatrix shawl. If I hold it that way, you can see all the different colours. So this is a shawl by Hannah from the Cozy Cottage Crochet podcast. She has really lovely patterns. They are written so well. They're so easy to follow. It's a very intuitive pattern. So you do it in sections, and in her pattern it calls for 2 different colours, and then you you swap colours every section. I changed colours completely for every section, so you've got this white colour, this peach. This is the only bit I'm not keen on. I do wish there was a bit more contrast. This lovely rose pink colour, purple, a slightly darker purple, a really darker purple, this lovely royal blue, like a teal turquoise, I'm not sure how you describe it, this lovely powder blue, grey and white. And then the other change that I made was I just single crocheted along the top just to make it look that bit neater, because where I changed colours it didn't look very neat. That's nothing to do with the pattern, that's just because of me changing colours, and obviously there's no point carrying yarn if you're not going to use it again. So yeah, I just did that there. This is a really lovely pattern. She does say to use variegated yarn, because where you use the short rows you get like these bumps, but I actually really like them. I think it's a nice little design feature. So yeah, I think this is going to be worn quite a lot when it cools down a little bit. It does need blocking. I just need to work out how I'm going to block it. It's all DK acrylic, mostly stash yarn. I think it's going to be one that I wear a lot. I do tend to gravitate towards my big DK shawls rather than my small ones, even with it being warm. I'm still going for the bigger shawls rather than the smaller ones. I think it's the size rather than the weight. So yeah, I think that's going to be one that's worn quite a lot. It just needs blocking and it will be finished. My last finished object is a hat. I did not use a pattern. I cast on 104. I did 2x2 rib, stocking it until I got fed up, and it's slouchy enough, so, and then I just did my decreases here to break the crown. Yeah, this based on the hat that Todd has in BoJack Horseman. I'm not sure if the colour suits me, but I have been wearing it. It's really warm. It is DK though, so it would be. Yeah, it's a really nice hat. It was nice travel because most of it was just stocking it. I made a couple of mistakes here, which you can kind of see. You can see this is where I started. Just where I did the wrong stitches. But once it's on my head, you'd have to be looking pretty close to actually. I think there's a couple more mistakes further on as well. But like I said, once it's on my head, you're not going to see them. I've purposely put that bit to the back as well. So yeah, that is that finished. I will write my notes up eventually on Ravelry, because like I said, I didn't use a pattern. But yeah, that knitting's better for travelling for me because I have a tendency to drop things, and if I drop a needle that's on a cable, it's not the end of the world, whereas if I drop my crochet hook, they can be quite difficult to find. So yeah, that is my Todd hat finished. That's all my finished objects. I really don't have that many. I have a half finished object, and that is this sock. This was travel knitting to and from work last week. It is the Mina Phillips pattern, Mina Phillips vanilla sock recipe pattern, which is a paid for pattern on Ravelry. It's the only pattern that I've used. I cannot get my head around heel flap and gusset, and it's a really detailed pattern. I'm not sure if you just saw that little head move here. He's investigating. So yeah, this is Signet yarn. I cannot remember the colourway name, and this is Happy in Panda. And then again, contrasting heel and cuff. The cuff is just 2x2 rib. Nice, simple, good for travelling. Nice little short socks. I am going to try and knit quite a few short socks out of this yarn, I think. I'm going to try and do as many as I can. I know they're not going to match exactly, but if I wanted them to match exactly, I would have just knit the cuff longer. The leg longer. But I wanted some short socks. It feels really, really soft. It's got a bamboo content. I can't remember what it is right now. But yeah, it's coming up quite true to colour. I thought that was the colour it was, but then when I've taken it outside, it's got like a pink sheen. I'm not sure about that, but yeah, I'm going to cast the other one on either tonight or tomorrow, and that will be my work knitting for the next week. The next work in progress is one that you will have seen quite a few times if you've watched the podcast before. I am so close to finishing it, and he's asleep right now, so we shouldn't have the same problem. Every time I've picked it up to try and work on it, Boomer has been there waiting for me to stop working on it, or if I'm working on it on this side, he will climb on this side and cuddle up and go to sleep. Or he's been waiting for me to move, at which point, this is what he did yesterday, he will kind of tuck it all into a big ball, as dogs like to do, and lay on top of it. There's a picture of that if you go on my Instagram. So, let me show you. I really haven't done as much as I want to do. This is where I was last week, and I have added all of the purple and this blue colour. So not as much as I wanted, but considering the way Boomer's been with this blanket, I think I've done quite well. I am now on cake number 11, and to me, cakes aren't cheap. For 150 grams, I think you pay about £6-7 depending on where you get them from. And I found that there's none here that I can show you. I have already looked through I'd have to go a bit further into the cake, but there's parts that are really thin. I mean, they make my sock yarn look thick, which is really worrying. I do think I am going to have to spend a lot of time, once this blanket has been used a little bit, going in and reinforcing stitches or replacing stitches because the yarn gets that thin. But then at the same time there's yarn that's really thick, and the first couple of cakes I thought, okay, maybe it's just the odd thing, but it seems it's happened in every single cake, and there hasn't been knots, which is good. I'm constantly getting this thick and thin, and it is worrying that I might have to go back and replace certain stitches. And the other thing is these neps, there's little you can see they literally, some of them have just pulled off, which, considering this blanket is, sorry, that's kind of my nose, considering this blanket is for our sofa where our dogs are going to use it, the dogs are probably going to use it more than us. It's worrying how easy these neps just pull off. I mean, okay, that one's hardly attached. So yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about how easily they come off. I don't remember if that was the case with the first ball I bought, which I used to make a virus shawl, but yeah, I'm not impressed with the yarn. I wouldn't buy it again. Oh, sorry, I need to sneeze. I definitely wouldn't buy this yarn again. But I have added one cake and one little bit, so all I've got now is the rest of this blue cake and then one pink cake. I probably won't use the whole cake. I'm going to use as much as I can, and then I don't really want to be playing yarn chicken on this because it is a lot to rip out. So when I'm kind of not sure how much I'm going to have left, I'm just going to run some single crochet along the top, and then because it is supposed to be DK yarn, anything left will be going into my big bag of DK acrylic scraps. And once I have another Grafgan that I want to make, I've seen a Pokemon one, and then once that's finished, all my DK acrylic scraps, literally every scrap I can find in the house, will be going into one giant blanket. Probably another one for the sofa, maybe either single crochet or half double crochet. I think would look really good with what I'm thinking. So yeah, hopefully, my goal was the end of July. I've still got about 10 days, so hopefully this will be finished soon. And that is it for my works in progress and my finished objects. I do have some frogged projects. I was making the garter stitch slippers. I was using 2 strands of DK acrylic yarn, so that's going into the scrap blanket. I was using 2 strands of acrylic yarn, and I was at the very last point on the first one, which is where you use the 3 needle bind off to create the toes, which were really pointy, considering the kind they were going to be a present, so considering the kind of slippers they normally wear, they were quite pointy. But Bobby, who is my staffy, literally walked over, put his paw in the blue of my needles and pulled, which has pulled the needles out, and because it was 2 strands held double, and I was knitting so tightly, I was knitting so tightly it was hurting me to knit on them, and I couldn't pick the stitches up, so it would have meant frogging quite a lot to then pick the stitches up again, and it just felt like such a chore, and I don't want my knitting to feel like a chore. So the project has been completely frogged. The yarn has gone into my big bag of DK acrylic scraps. Like I said, that's eventually going to be a blanket. I'm going to just do one more Grafgan, and then I'm going to start on that. Maybe 2 more Grafgans. This is the problem. This is why that yarn's been waiting there for so long, because I'm like, oh, if I do another DK acrylic project, then that scrap yarn can go in. But yeah, so that they have been frogged completely. I'm going to look and see if I can find another slipper pattern that can be used instead. It was a bit of an odd pattern as well because there was no sizing, so I had to go up and look for size feet and like in measurements to then work out if the slippers were going to be the right size. But it's a free pattern, so it's not the end of the world. But it felt like a relief to have it off the needles. So I'm not working on those anymore. It was a Christmas present, so I've got like how many months to find a different pattern. And the other frogged project is the Il Barato, which is a pattern by Sockmatician, which has been set upstairs for a year, and it was the same. It felt like such a chore to go back and work on it. And I was getting really frustrated and annoyed when I was working on it. Every single time I was working on it, I would be frustrated and annoyed within like half a row. And I'm not sure if that's a problem with the pattern, or if it's something with me, or if it's the way I don't know what it was. I wasn't enjoying working on it at all. So that has been frogged. The yarn is going to sit in its box for a while, and I think once I've got a few more things finished, it will become the Wolves Within by Pokemon Pearl pattern. As soon as I saw this pattern, I knew I wanted it. I knew what colours I wanted it in, and I think I bought it like quite soon as well after I saw it. And I was searching through Etsy looking for yarn. I think the yarn I've got, this yarn is actually slightly too thick, but that just means it's going to be bigger. So I knew exactly what I wanted, and I was going through Etsy looking for yarn that was what I wanted, and then I was upstairs the other day, came across the Il Barato, which has been up there for about a year in a box waiting to be worked on, and it just clicked. It was exactly what I wanted, except for there's 2 additional colours, so that's something I need to work out, is how these additional colours will come into play, because I don't think the 2 colours that I was thinking are going to be enough to do the whole scarf. So yeah, that is going to be the next kind of double knitting project, because I enjoy double knitting, I really do, but there's just something about that pattern I didn't like. And then with everything that has happened recently, I'm not sure how to describe this, but sometimes when I buy a pattern, I feel almost guilty not finishing it. Like I'm doing something against the designer, especially if it's a paid for pattern. I kind of feel like I should be enjoying it, but that's not the case. I don't think he's got my money. He doesn't care. That's going to be the same with a lot of designers. I think they don't. You don't owe them anything in terms of finishing a pattern. So that will be frogged, and I think I'm going to make the Wolves Within with the yarn, which is something I've wanted for a really long time. Whereas the Il Barato, I think I'm not that fussed about, and I don't know how much I would have worn it because it's very, very busy. So yeah, that has been frogged after sitting in a box for a year. Yeah, so that's all the kind of knitting stuff. Like I said, I haven't bought anything bar the yarn to finish off my my Bellatrix. And yeah, so we did go to London last week. We went down on the Wednesday, and we went to see The Cursed Child, which was really, really good. I bought tickets right at the back because they were a lot cheaper, and I thought that way, if I do have any sensory issues, it's not a big deal for me to leave because I'm right at the back. I'm not going to be disturbing as many people, but I was fine. We've been to see plays in the past where I've had a lot of sensory issues, which is quite difficult. So, but like I said, we were right at the back and I didn't have any problems. The only issue is because we were so far back, you couldn't see everything that was going on. I think if I was to go and see it again, I'd try and get better seats. And then on the Wednesday, we went to the Warner Bros. Studio tours, which was really, really good as well. Yeah, it's amazing to see these kind of sets that I've seen in films, and films that I've watched so many times, and films that I remember getting so excited about when they came out. It was amazing to actually kind of be there and see them. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. But then when we came back, I literally just slept for we came back on the Friday morning, and I just slept until the Sunday. I slept all of Friday night, most of Saturday night, and a fair chunk of Sunday. and that's kind of my weekend gone, because I was back at work on the Monday. So yeah, I haven't really had time for anything else. We did watch Torchwood. We're on the last kind of series of Torchwood. I think we've just got Miracle Day left to watch, and I'm really enjoying that. And then when we've watched that, we're going to go back to watching Doctor Who. I think we've kind of stopped watching Supernatural, although I do want to go back and watch more of it. We just haven't, I don't know, we just haven't really started watching it again. We will do, I think, because the episodes are that bit longer than other things. We're watching Friday Night Dinner again as well, for the how many, like, Jim knows half the jokes before they even land. So we're watching that at the moment as well. I'm still watching season 2 of Stranger Things. I haven't been able to get through that yet. I think I've nearly finished it now. But because Jim hasn't watched it, I'm struggling to find time when I can watch it, because I don't want to ruin it for him, because he does want to go and watch it. So I'm having to watch it like while he's at work and stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much everything from the past 2 weeks. I didn't go to Yarningham. I can't remember if I said I was going to, just because it was the weekend that I came back from London, and I don't think I would have been able to drive up there with how tired I was, and it's not really Jim's thing as well. So he's not a knitter, he doesn't get it. He probably would be quite horrified with some of the prices of yarn as well, because he just doesn't really pay attention to yarny stuff really, so he wouldn't know much of the work and everything that goes into it. But yeah, so I didn't end up going to Yarningham. It was bad timing, I think. So yeah, it's been a really kind of strange 2 weeks. I've managed to get some stuff done. I've been left with a lot of plans for what I'm going to make in the future, which you'll see kind of as I make them. I'm not going to go too much into my makeup plans at the moment beyond the Wolves Within scarf, which I really don't know when that's going to be cast on anyway. But yeah, so that's everything, I think. I hope. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below, even if you just want to pop up and say hello. I am trying to get better at remembering to reply to comments. I've had a few issues with my phone recently, which is why it takes me so long to get back to people, because I'm just not getting notifications. But yeah, that's everything for today. I hope you've had a lovely 2 weeks, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.